بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وتبدوا ما في أنفسكم يحاسبكم به الله فيغفر لمن يشاء ويعذب من يشاء والله على كل شيء قدير. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. صدق الله العظيم.
Assalamualaikum. Dear guests, Atoll Marine Symposium. This year, we gather under the inspiring theme, Currents of Connections, Communities, Culture, and Conservation. This theme highlights the vital links between our communities, our cultural heritage, and the crucial work of protecting our marine environment. Throughout the day, we will explore key issues facing our atolls and oceans. We will begin by looking at ecological connectivity and ocean health, focusing on the connections between coral reefs, seagrass meadows, and mangroves, and how protecting one ecosystem helps safeguard them all. We will then turn to solutions for ocean pollution, addressing the urgent challenges of waste management from discarded waste on land to ghost care at sea, while exploring how innovation, education, and circular approaches can offer real answers. Firstly, we will highlight the role and importance of communities and youth in conservation, celebrating the power of people, especially young people, to lead grassroots initiatives guided by culture, community knowledge, and collective stewardship. This is a very special day for us. What began as a single-day celebration, the Raviani Turtle Festival expanded in 2023 to include the Atoll Marine Symposium, held the day before the main event. This edition created a much-needed platform for collaboration, dialogue, and the sharing of knowledge and ideas. Now, in its third edition, the Atoll Marine Symposium has grown into a full-day gathering that brings together a wide range of stakeholders to engage in meaningful discussions about pressing marine issues in the Maldives. The event is particularly valuable for NGOs, providing opportunities to showcase their work, build new relationships, and strengthen partnerships for greater collective impact, reinforcing the currents of connection between communities, culture, and conservation. Before we begin with the presentations, please join me in welcoming our guest of honor, Mr. Hassan Mohammed, Chief Executive of the Environmental Regulatory Authority. Mr. Hassan Mohammed.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Laveni Atoll Turtle Festival ga by Kamugawa Timmana Atoll Symposium ge miha beverina marhaba dannawa. Rajya ga nazuk timavish himaya kurumuga tiafaratakun mifada Symposium ta rava ega furihamaya beverive hinga amali masakkata ki rajya ga timavish himayakko rakkateri kurumuga ele vara muhimma fiyawale kamuga algondu ga bol koru. ರಾಜ್ಯಗೆ ತಿಮಾವಿಟ್ಟ ಕುರಿಮತಿ ವೆಫಾವ ಗೊಂಜೆಹೊಂತಹಕಿ ಎತ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ತಕೆಗ್ಗ ಏಗ ವಾಹಕ ದೆಕೆವೆ ಅದಿ ಹಮ ಮಿಯಾಯಕೊ ಎಮ್ಮೆಣವ್ವೆಸ್ ಏಕಿ ಮಿಂವರ ನವವೆಸ್ ಏಗೆ ಹೇದುಂತೆರಿಕಂ ಲಿಬಿಫಾವ ಮುಹಿಮ್ಮು ಮಸ್ಸಲೇಕಂಗ ಅಳುಗೊಂಡು ಗಬ್ಬುಲ್ ಕುರಂ ಮಿಫದ ಸಿಂಪೋಸಿಯಂ ತಹಕಿ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ನುವತ ಹಿಮಾಯಕುರುಮ್ಗೆ ಸಗಾಫತೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಗ ಅಶಗಣ್ಣುವ ದೆಮೆಹೆಟ್ಟಣಿಮಿ ಗೊತೆಗ್ಗ ಹಿಮಾಯಕುರುಮ್ಗೆ ಮಸಕ್ಕೆಂ ಇತುರ ಫುಳಾಕುರುಮಂ ಎಳಿಗೆಂದಾಣೆ ವರ ಮುಹಿಮ್ ಫಿಯವಳೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಗೆ ತಿಮಾವೆಟ್ಟಕಿ ಗೌಮಿ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಟಿ ನುವತ ಗೌಮೀಯತ ಇಕ್ತಿಸೋದಾಯ ಗುಳಿ ಲಾಮಹಿಫಾವಾ ಕಮೆ ತಿಮಾವಿಶ ರಕ್ಕಾತೆರಿಕ ಅಣ್ಣಂಗ ಜೀಲ್ ತಕ ಫೋರು ಕೊದ್ದಿ ದೆಮೆಹೆಟ್ಟಣಿ ಥರಗ್ಗಿ ಅಸಾಸೆ ಗೊತ್ತುಗ ಹೆದುಮಕಿ ದಿವೆಹಿಂಗೆ ಅಮಿಲ್ಲವಂತ ಕಮಾಯಿ ದಿವೆಹಿ ಇಕ್ತಿಸೋದ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆಹೆಂವೆಸ್ ಬೇಣುಂತೆರಿ ಕಮೆ ಮಿ ಸಿಂಪೋಸಿಯಂಗೆ ಎಮ್ಮೆಹ ಬ್ಯಾವ್ರೆಣ್ಣ ಅಳುಗಂಡು ಮೇಯದು ಕುರ ಇಲ್ತಿಮಾಸಕಿ ಆ ಹಿವ್ವರಕ ಕಂಕನ್ ದಸ್ಕುರುಮ ಇಲ್ಮಿ ನಜರಕುಂ ಮಿ ಸಿಂಪೋಸಿಯಂಗೆ ಹುರಿಹ ಪೆನಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ತಕಾಯ್ ಮಸೆಕ್ಕತ ಬದ್ದಲ್ವಂತವಗ ಬ್ಯಾವೆರಿವೆ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಬ್ಯಾವೆರಿಯವ್ವೆಸ್ ಶೌಗುವೆರಿ ಕಮಾಯಕು ಎಫರಾತೆಗ್ಗೆ ಜಿಮ್ಮಾಯಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತುಗ ಎಕಂ ಅದಾ ಕೊದ್ದೆಣು ಅದಿ ಮಿಫದ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ತಕ ಜಿಯಾರೆಕ್ಕೊ ದಿರೆ ತಕತಿಗೆ ನಸ್ಲು ಹಿಮಾಯಕ್ ಕುರುಮ ಕುರವೆ ಮಸೆಕ್ಕತವಗ ಎಮ್ಮಿಹಾ ಫರಾತಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾವೆರಿವಮಂ ಅಳುಗೊಂಡು ಗೋವಾಲಂ ದಮ್ಮಿ ಅಳುಗೊಂಡು ವೆಸ್ ಫುರುತಂ ಫಹರ ಲವಿಯಂಜಮ್ಮೆ ಐ ಎಹಮ ದೇವಿ ಮರ್ಹಬಾ ವರ ಬೋಡ ಶುಕ್ರ ದಣ್ಣು ಅದಿ ಅಳುಗೊಂಡು ವೆಸ್ ಮಾಲೂಮಾತ್ ಇಫ್ಕೊತ್ಕ ಮೀ ಹಮ ವೆಲಾ ಕಾಂಬ ಎಮ್ಮೆ ಗಿಣಾಂ ಫೆಣ್ಣ ಎಂಗ್ ಅತೊಳು ಆಣೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಆಣೆ ಮೀ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ವೆಸ್ ವರ ದುಳಹಯ ಅದಿ ಅಳುಗೊಂಡು ಗಬೂಲ್ ಕೊರ ಗೊತ್ತುಗ ಮೀ ಮಿಫದ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ದಿವೆಹಿಂಡಂ ಎಕ್ಸೆಸಿಬಲ್ ಗೊತ್ತಕಂ ಇಣುಮಕಿ ವೆಸ್ ಐ ವರ ಮುಹಿಮ್ಮು ಕಮೆ ಅದು ಮಿ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಕುರಿಯಂಗತ್ತಾಗ ಇತರ ಫುಳಾವೆ ಕೊರಿಯರಾಗಿನ ದಿವಮಕ್ಕೆ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ಗೆ ವರಬಡು ಉಮ್ಮೀದ And since we have a lot of international participants, I would like to say a few words in English as well. Welcome all to the third Marine Atoll Symposium. It gives me a pleasure to be here and witness and participate in such a symposium. Symposiums of this nature serve as a key building block in raising awareness and contributing to conservation efforts. In the Maldives, the importance of such efforts cannot be understated. This nation's ecology is intertwined with the national identity and the economy itself. Conservation and preservation targets should be and is one of the most vital aspects of our strategies and development targets for the country. Hence, today I urge all participants to approach this and other conservation efforts with intellectual curiosity and enthusiasm. I urge all participants to fully immerse yourself in this symposium and its individual workshops, panel discussions, and be aware of our collective and individual responsibilities and encourage you to engage in these works as much as possible. Moreover, I encourage all to visit the Turtle Conservation Center here, which showcases unique insights into understanding our turtles and our communities as well. Nimmalumga kuring algon emmiha baverinashai symposium rava hinga farattaka වර බොඩ ශුකර දන්නවා. මේ සිම්පෝසියම්මකි කාමියාබ් සිම්පෝසියම්මක වෙගෙන්දානකමන් උම්මීද් කරන් අදි ෆෙස්ටිවල් වස් හම කාමියාබ් ෆෙස්ටිවල්ක වෙගෙන්දානකමන් උම්මීද් කරන් වර බොඩ ශුක්‍රියා. Before I conclude, sincere thanks to all participants and symposium organizers. I hope the symposium is a resounding success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan Mohammed. I am now pleased to hand the microphone over to one of our hosts, event, right? But also before that, we do have refreshments at the back if you want to grab a drink or something.
Thank you, Anum. Once again, welcome everyone to the start of our first session of the day, Ecological Connectivity and Ocean Health. Please welcome Mr. Ismail Hood Rizvi, Founding Director of Technology and Research at Atoll. He will be presenting on the topic of automated coral health assessment in the Maldives, addressing dataset limitations.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me today. My name is Hood and I am from Atoll. So, this is the title of the research paper we wrote. Oh, okay, thank you. So, before I go into the paper, I'd like to talk about as I said, I would like to talk about our journey here. Okay, nice. So basically, this all started in our university classroom. And we were tasked to make a AI model that can identify or it can solve a very large local issue. And we thought, what better than solve a problem related to corals, which is where we came across Muraka AI. Muraka AI is an AI that helps detect diseases in corals. But while we were working on this, we found an insane obstacle, which was the issue of data. The data that we could find was so fragmented and difficult to access. So we decided to really delve into this and see why this was the case. And what we found that many of our great researchers, they were busy doing work on computers. They were busy with labeling and identifying data completely manually. And us coming from a computer science background, we thought, okay, this is something that we can definitely automate. We can make models for this, and there are things that have been done before. This is the paper that we wrote on this, which is Automated Coral Health Assessment in the Maldives and Addressing its Data Limitations. Basically what we did was we saw models that have worked for other countries, and we took them and made them in a local setting. And we found that these models definitely work here. They are completely viable. But the issue is the data, which is why we founded Atoll. What Atoll aims to do is it aims to provide free and open source data to people. We want to make frontier AIs and 3D visual mapping of the ocean so that everybody can be a researcher. Thank you. If you would like to see a live demo of the model we made, you can scan our QR code, but we'll also be in the stalls, so you can visit us and see how it actually works. Thank you for having me.
Would anyone like to ask Mr. Ismail Hood Rizvi any questions? Okay, moving on. Thank you, Mr. Ismail Hood Rizvi, for your insightful presentation. Moving forward, please welcome Mr. James Caudry, marine biologist at Six Senses Kanhura, presenting Seagrass, the unsung heroes of the ocean.
Guys, hello. Seagrass. It's nice to meet you all. I'm James. It's a pleasure to speak here today. Do I stand on the stage? Okay. Hopefully I'm going to convince all of you guys of why seagrass is the unsung heroes of the ocean. We need to protect it. We need to, especially here in the Maldives, advocate more for it. So yes, let's crack on. Where's the clicker? Which one is it? This one? Okay, simple question. All the fonts changed. That's okay. So what is seagrass? Simple question, simple answer. Seagrass is, oh no. Put simply, marine's only flowering plant. It's catching up. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so seagrass is not a seaweed. That's the really important distinction to make. Seagrass is a flowering plant. Like the angiosperms we get on land, the ones that have those beautiful flowers, the seagrasses do the same. And guess what? It's meant to say, oh, point there. Oh, it's awesome. Sweet, let's get into it. So, this is there we go. Okay, so ecosystem services. I'm going to quickly talk about why seagrass is so beneficial for us. This has only really been done in the last 30 years or so that we've started to uncover the real importance of seagrass. So we're going to get cracking. So the first one is they're a really important carbon sequestrator. So this is the one that's the most well documented in literature. And basically, seagrasses, they photosynthesize, they capture the light, and they store carbon. That's a really good thing because we've got too much carbon in the atmosphere. So it captures the carbon and it transfers it to the roots and it stores it in the sediment. That's awesome. It can capture and absorb carbon 35 times faster than rainforests. Say what? Awesome. Also, as they photosynthesize, they produce oxygen. So that's important because fish need oxygen to breathe. Everything needs oxygen to breathe. So it oxygenates the water. It can produce about 10 liters of oxygen per meter squared per day. Fun. And they really protect coastlines. That's a really important thing in the Maldives. We have about 90% of the islands in the Maldives suffer from severe erosion. That's not good. So we need seagrass to protect our coastlines. Seagrasses, as well as growing laterally, they propagate asexually and they go like outwards. They also go upwards as they capture more and more carbon. And that helps buffer wave energy and protect our coasts. That's great as well. Guys, I'm convincing you one step at a time. Who's in the way? There we go. Okay. Oh, so they also support fisheries. Fish is the main export in the Maldives. So yeah, 20% of the world's fisheries comes from seagrass, or depends on seagrass in one part of their life cycle. That's 1 in every 5 fish worldwide. Yeah, that's an statistic given that only 0.2% of the seafloor is covered by seagrass. Cool. Okay. Also, they improve water clarity. So by biostabilization, they capture sediment, they store it in the sediment and the substrate, and they make the water clear and beautiful. And you can see in the photo there, I'm scared of turning because I think it's going to disconnect. We'll be fine. Okay, let's move on. So, okay, they're also a beautiful habitat for a bunch of different things. We have our cowtail stingrays, we have our pink whip stingrays, groups of them like this. This is all in the lagoon at Six Senses Kanahura. Eagle rays sometimes spotted as well. In the seagrass. Look how shallow that is. Anyone can go and see this. This is like really fun. I'm like aiming. There we go. Oh, the feisty triggerfish. You'll see loads of triggerfish in the seagrass. And that's cool as well. Be scared a little bit, but that's cool. We also have the less obvious things like the sea conches as well. They're hiding in there, really important habitats. And also the rock stars of seagrass. What we're here to celebrate. Sea turtles! Come on! Whoa, whoa, whoa! So they're obviously the main food source for green sea turtles. And that's another thing as well. I'm just labeling the things as we go. So, the question I have for people here, and I want participation, is what do you think is happening to seagrass in the Maldives? Do you think it's declining? Hands up. Or do we think it's on the rise? Seagrass is on the rise in the Maldives, and it has been for the last 20 years or so. So congrats to everyone who got that. A star. This is a paper done by Matthew Floyd et al. From the University of Northumbria, and they use satellite imagery to kind of track the seagrass expansion over the last 20 years, and it's expanding. And it's different at every atoll, but generally speaking, it's expanding, and that's great. But, and I'm going to surprise you slightly, this is a photo of a horse. So, the issue here, I think, since I've been here, I haven't been in the Maldives that long, but when I speak to a lot of people about seagrass, people who have been here for many years, there's this kind of perspective, like tunnel vision perspective, that seagrass isn't a problem. You know, seagrass, we have loads of it, it's thriving, it's doing well, it's not a problem. It's like we're wearing the blinkers in the Maldives, when really we should be questioning that. So I ask you now, what do you think is happening to seagrass globally? Do you guys think it's on the rise or on the fall? Down, it's going down, and it's going down at a really pretty intense rate. This is a paper done by Dunwich et al., published in 2021, and it's pretty damning. So you see about 20% of the seagrasses have been lost in 120 years. That's crazy, and it's sad. And it's also an understatement, so 5,600 square kilometers has been lost. That's of what we know seagrass areas. That's all the mapped seagrass areas we know. There's so many seagrass meadows yet to be mapped, so it's a guaranteed understatement, and it's also the equivalent 20 times the landmass of the Maldives. There's a lot of space, a lot of seagrass lost. So, we're in the Maldives, and we have this unique and valuable place where seagrass is actually thriving. It's not just surviving, it's thriving. We've got probably one of the most valuable ecosystems in the world growing just on our front step. The Maldives could be the key, and it's the conservation equivalent of striking gold. The people need to know that. It's really important. The Maldives needs to own that. So, but they're still under threat. And this is the image, I mean, myself, I grew up in the UK. This is the image I had, and a lot of people worldwide have of the Maldives. This has been the standard set for the last 30 years or so for kind of what we expect. Plain white beaches, devoid of life. Us as biologists, we know that's not a healthy ecosystem, man. It's just beach. And this is the unrealistic standards set by resorts, unfortunately. And to keep up with that standard, what do many resorts do? They remove the seagrass. They lay out plastic tarp, they smother it, they kill the seagrass. This is like walking into a rainforest, cutting down all the trees just because it leaves leaves on the floor, you know? And this is just because it's happening under the waves, we can't see it, and it's seagrass. Here in the Maldives, we think we've got too much of it, it's not a problem. It's a real problem. So, but we even have it in Kanahura. We're not, you know, the ones who are, this is still a problem. So this isn't us, I'm just saying. We've been over years, Kanahura as an island has been a resort for 25 years. This is probably about 20 years old. So we remove it. So we've been doing this every month, 18 months. I might speak a bit slower so you guys can hear me. Yeah, in 18 months, we have removed over 2 tons, which is a feat, and I'm so proud of the team and everyone who's been involved in doing this. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys. Don't worry. Buy me a drink later, whatever. Okay, so this hopefully coupled with the research that we're doing, so this is a standardized protocol set out by our friends at MRR. So hopefully us removing this tarp and monitoring the seagrass, we can be the first place in the Maldives that can track the recovery of seagrass from previously suppressed areas. That would be sweet. Also want to shout out to also the seagrass industry leaders. I'm very proud to stand here and say us at Six Senses Kanahura are a seagrass industry leader. We protect our seagrass. We also get rid of this tarp, this nasty plastic in the water. And I'd advocate for any and all today sign on this pledge and own this beautiful habitat that you've got. References, a cute ray and a thank you. Oh, there's the. So any questions would be great.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Caudry?
Hello. That was a really awesome talk. Love seagrass. It doesn't get enough credit out here. But I was just wondering if you know of any seagrass propagation efforts where it's like in-house, where people are aquaculturing it?
Yeah. Hello. Oh, yes, you can hear me.
Or specifically in the Maldives. Thanks.
Oh, in the Maldives, no.
No.
So where I'm from in the UK, there's several different NGOs who work on restoring seagrass. There's Project Seagrass, there's Ocean Conservation Trust, and these guys pump thousands into restoring and planting seagrass. It's not as simple as you think. It's not like taking a seed and chucking it in and just letting it grow. It's quite a difficult process. You need like labs where you can, like wet labs where you can like grow the seeds, harvest the seeds, and package the seeds with some fertilizer and some hemp bags. There's a long process to it. But to be honest, in the Maldives, we're in this like Goldilocks environment for seagrass where it's probably one of the only places in the world where this is happening. And still we don't really know exactly why. There's a couple theories and still people are testing this. That's why we need to do research on this. But in the Maldives, there's no need to like plant or restore. It's just protect, love, nurture, advocate, market, advertise, take people out and show them what there is. Yeah, thanks.
Good morning. Thank you very much. It's very interesting, and thank you for sharing so much information about the seagrass. I have a question regarding seagrass-related research. Are you guys doing any research that shows the growth rate of the seagrass, or what are the factors that actually improve in the condition of seagrass beds, making it spread faster?
Yeah. There's so as I just mentioned, I think Muff's presentation might touch on this. She knows a little bit more than me, but there is research, a lot of research on like nutrient cycling, which is quite important to seagrass health, growth, expansion, and we're like in this perfect Goldilocks zone of the Maldives is like super oligotrophic, like very nutrient devoid really in the water. And I think it's a combination of, you see more seagrass meadows near inhabited islands. And obviously you get a bit of runoff, you get a bit of organic pollution. But it's hit this like strange Goldilocks zone where there's still publications that need to be done that show that seagrass might be directly linked to this kind of nutrient output, which is good for seagrass. But eventually, if that gets too high, you hit a zone where you're just feeding algae, and that algae can overgrow, smother, and kill the seagrass. So at the moment, we're theoretically in this zone, but still I haven't published any papers on this. I mean, I just look at fish. I was a fish behaviorist in my studies, so, but yeah, there's still a lot to learn, and that's the exciting thing. And there's surely more to learn about researching them and saving them than there is about removing them, right?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Hi, thank you for your talk about seagrass. It's really interesting. I was wondering, you mentioned that you're monitoring the seagrass. What different survey techniques are you using?
It's so it's a 3-part survey technique. It's like this. They've got it published. MRR, Maldives Resilient Reefs. We do aerial surveys with drones. Just fly a drone over, and you can stitch the images together, and you can do it every few months or so, and you can track where the seagrass is growing. This is a little bit annoying sometimes because it's hard to differentiate where corals and seagrass is. So it's an excuse to get in the water. So we get in the water as well. We validate that, and then we also do like quadrat style. It's like, I call it like lawnmower style, like going up and down the seagrass meadows, throwing quadrats and just like assessing species, like algal cover, canopy height, seagrass cover, epiphyte cover, all these kind of things. And then we also do like remote underwater video surveys. We put a video down, like a GoPro, leave it there. It's not baited or anything, just on its own, and we record what's swimming by.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Come on, give me a break. Let's get out of here. Huh? I'm going to get a coffee.
Any other questions?
Hi, James.
Hey, Nisha.
Thank you for the presentation.
Anytime.
I was just wondering, what are your predictions for the area that you removed the tarp from? Do you think it's going to come back, or do you think it's dead, gone?
I promise we didn't plan this question. Yes, it's going to expand for sure. I can't tell you how long is the answer, but it will almost certainly expand. I mean, we have around that area, you can see quite clearly. I should have, now in retrospect, I should have put a photo on the presentation, but you can see like seagrass around the area where the tarp was. And obviously we've been removing it in such a short period of time, so it's still having a bit of time to catch up. That'll be very how it does.
That would be very interesting to monitor. Good.
Yes, thank you. I agree. Cordially.
Who's next? No?
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. James Caudry, for your informative talk. We are now delighted to have Mr. Adam Atif Muhammad, sea turtle biologist at Atoll Marine Conservation, presenting sea turtles as connectors from nesting beaches to ocean ecosystems.
All right, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, hope you are well. So today I'll be presenting to you about sea turtles as connectors from our beaches to our oceans to our reefs. My name is Atif. I'm the sea turtle biologist from the Atoll Marine Conservation Center, and I'll be telling you why we can't live without sea turtles. Okay, so oh. There we go. All right, so why connectivity matters? So before we answer that question, what actually is ecological connectivity? So it's basically how everything connects in an ecosystem, whether it's within habitats or if it's like between organisms or between like the processes. It can be symbiosis, the relationship between each and other organism, or how habitats connect with each other. For example, we can see mangroves, seagrass, coral reefs, how they link in between each other. Some organisms, they like in different life stages, they can move in between each ecosystem. So sometimes as juveniles, they can live in the seagrass. As adults, they can move to the coral reef. So it's all connected. And also when they like transfer energy between each other. So when like predator-prey relationships, how the energy is linked within each other. So all these processes are all connected. So sea turtles are actually great examples of how these ecosystems are connected. So they can be found on our beaches, even here in the Maldives, all across the world on different beaches. You can see these turtles like starting their life cycle from the eggs. And on the reefs, you can see the turtles feeding, resting, and also in the seagrass, you can see them feeding in the seagrass, the green turtles mainly, and also in the open ocean. So since they are migratory species, they can be also found in the open ocean as well. So let's start with the nesting beaches. So the female turtles migrate thousands of kilometers, like can be like 10,000, 15,000. They can come from anywhere else from the world back to where they were born to their nesting beaches. So it also shows how like other parts of the world are also like connected to their birthplace. So they need to migrate and move to other areas. And also the eggs that they bring. When the hatchlings leave, the empty eggshells, the undeveloped eggs, maybe dead hatchlings, can be nutrients to the plants. So when there's more plants on the beaches also become healthy. There'll be less erosion. And usually these turtles lay the eggs near the vegetation line. So that's also how they like provide nutrients to our beaches. And also, nesting is one of the ways that we as people connect with turtles. Even if you're not in the water, even if you're not diving or snorkeling, they will come to us, to our beaches, to lay the eggs. So sometimes we can see the nesting turtles. Even if you don't see the turtle, you can still see their tracks. And even recently, I've seen from a video on a local island, there were people like standing next to a nesting turtle. And that's also how we as turtle biologists or marine biologists connect with people, like what the turtle is doing or what something that they could be doing wrong might be disturbing the turtle. So that's how we also connect with the community, with our turtles. So the next one is the hatchlings when they're coming out from the nest and they like start their journey into the ocean. So the first maybe 2-3 days, their job is just to swim. So they'll be just swimming to the open ocean where the currents, the waves takes them. And we call this time the lost years because we exactly don't know where they're going. But now there are some studies coming up to like understand this lost years period. And these babies, they can be going to anywhere around the world. And they don't really need to feed or rest or live where they were born in. So the turtles that we see here in the Maldives might be living in a reef in Seychelles or something like that. And the turtles that are born there could come to the Maldives to feed. So there are researches that are now being done how different populations of turtles are connected with each other. So it also shows global connectivity within the turtle populations. All right, so how many species of turtles are there in the world? How many? 7? How many in the Maldives? 5. And how many of them are common? 2? So we have 2 species that are mostly common, right? So one of them is this green sea turtle. So James has explained to you how important seagrass is to us. So these green sea turtles, as adults, they mainly feed in the seagrass. So when they feed in the seagrass, you know how we kind of, how do you say, keep our grass neat and tidy, clean. So just like that, the green turtles, they keep the seagrass neat and tidy so that they promote new growth, they become healthy, and then the seagrass can help in their things like carbon storage and everything. And the seagrass, they support the fishes, the rays, the sharks, and also the livelihoods, because there are fishes that are living in the seagrass that we also feed on them. So that's how green turtles connect to seagrass and also connects to us. So what's the other species that we see? The hawksbill, right? So next we have the hawksbills. So they can be found a lot on the reefs because their favorite food is the sponges. So they can eat the sponges, not only sponges, like algae that grows on the corals, anemones, soft corals. They can feed on these. So most of these are growing like really fast on the reef, which is not good for the corals. So they actually, when they feed on these things, it allows the corals to thrive and grow. So the reefs also become healthy. Healthier reefs means more protection for us, more biodiversity, the fisheries become good. So that's how hawksbill turtles, the coral reefs, they connect with us. Then there's the connection with climate change. So the seagrass meadows, the mangroves, the reefs, we call these ecosystems blue carbon ecosystems because they help to store the carbon within themselves. So they help to like manage the climate resilience. So the turtles are also linked with that climate resilience. And then there's people and the communities. So just like how I've been mentioning, all these things are connected directly with us. So the locals depend on these ecosystems, the reefs, for our food, for our jobs. The tourism industry, the biggest industry, is directly connected to these ecosystems. So the turtles, the turtle conservation, we don't only protect the turtles, but we are protecting these ecosystems, our livelihoods as well. So, in conclusion, we need to protect the connectors, which are our sea turtles, our sharks, our rays, everything that are connected to us. So they are actually the heroes of connectivity. And by protecting the turtles, we are protecting our beaches, our reefs, our seagrass, and also our livelihoods. So, by protecting turtles, we protect the ocean that protects us. So say it with me. By protecting turtles, we protect the ocean that protects us. Thank you.
Would anyone like to ask any questions? Okay. Well, no. Thank you, Mr. Adam Atif Muhammad. Please join me in welcoming Miss Agni Gershut, marine biologist at Vela Private Island, presenting Biorock in the Maldives, supporting reefs and ocean health.
Hello, everyone. My name is Agne, and I'm a marine biologist for Vela Private Island. First of all, I'd like to thank actually NIFOR Juvenile and Atoll Marine Center for organizing the symposium, where we'll be presenting about a Biorock project and how it supports reefs and ocean health. So just a little bit introduction about our project. So we are actually a team of 5 staff that are working on the coral restoration, and we have me, marine biologist, and our 3 interns, as well as we have a boat captain and we have a boat captain as well dedicated to our project, who ensures that we can go out daily to do the coral restoration work. So our restoration methods include reef nurseries, mid-water floating nurseries, as well as Biorock structures. So the aim of the project is actually to restore the ecological integrity of the reef and increase the species, as well as stabilize the reef. So why do coral reefs even matter? So they are biodiversity hotspots. They support almost 25% of the species, even though they cover only less than 1% of the ocean. They also provide habitat for fish that also graze in nearby seagrass beds, shorelines, and support livelihoods and tourism. When the reefs decline, that loss ripples through the whole ecosystem. So as already Ati mentioned, the reefs are actually not by themselves. They are connected with the other habitats where they exchange nutrients and energy. So we have fish that spawn in mangroves, and then they move to seagrass as juveniles, and then they migrate to reefs as adults as well. Then we have seagrass, as James already explained, how beneficial they are, and they trap sediments, and they also keep the reef waters clean. And then we have reefs that actually break down the wave energy, so they can protect the other 2 systems. So if we were to move the reefs, it would also affect the seagrass and the mangroves. Unfortunately, we do have many local threats to the coral reefs. So first was bleaching. We had bleaching events in 2016, then a smaller one in 2020, and again a global mass bleaching event in 2024. We also have predation by snails as well as cushion sea stars. And also we have unstable rubble that prevents natural coral recruitment, and it also prevents us from actually planting corals on the rubble as well. So our solution to this is the Biorock project. So what is actually Biorock? So Biorock uses low voltage electric current, and that makes limestone deposit on the steel rebar structures, as you can see in the white there. And this coral we actually found bleached upside down, so it was bleached from the stress, and we have put it on the Biorock structure to help it recover. And you can see only within 20 days, actually the bleaching has recovered, and the color has gained back its color as well. And you can see how the steel rebar is getting thicker as well, the limestone. So yeah, the corals attached to these structures normally grow faster, and they can also recover from bleaching. So also does create a complex, stable base that resists the movement, which is most important for us in our rubble sites. It also attracts a wide variety of marine life, and it turns bare rubble areas into thriving mini ecosystems. There was some photo before. No, okay. So we deployed our first Biorock in 2022, and actually we saw a lot of success in the site that we deployed it at. So we decided to deploy a second project 2 years later, in December 2024. And we use loose colonies from all around the island, and we attach it on the Biorock using binding wire. Here in the video you could see one of our structures, Vela sign, and the process of attaching corals on there. So we have various, so the shallowest are located at 3 meters, and they go all the way to reef slope at 10 meters. And the first Biorock structure, the older one, supports 7 structures, and the second one has 4 structures. So I will quickly show you some of our structures. So the first structure is turtle, because Vela means turtle in the Vehi language. So that's why we dedicate one structure for that. And this is the progress of the structure 2.5 years later. The second structure is a tunnel structure. It's actually 6 meters long, and it creates a really nice 3D shape on the reef as well. And you can see how the limestone is getting thicker as well on the rebar. Then we have the shell structure, which is also the turtle shell pattern, which is also a Vela pattern. So here's the progress of it as well. And then we have a nice dome structure. So for this structure, we actually use the underneath to fill it with rocks and corals and soft corals to really stabilize the area underneath the dome as well. And here you can see the progress a few years later as well, with how much fish populations have come back. Then this is an interesting one. We have cube structure. So interestingly, we built them all separately, and afterwards we connected them under the water. So if we would like, we can actually expand the structure and add even more cubes as we go along. Then we have a grid structure, which was placed in an area of just rubble. And there's a video, if you don't mind to play. And this is the same structure once we filled it 3 weeks later. And in the back you also see we were doing remote underwater videos of the structures. So if you don't mind to play. So these are all the loose colonies from shallow depths from all around the island that we put on the structures. Is there no way to do one by one? Okay, then, so we have seen a lot of more fish species and higher fish density, including juvenile reef fish sheltering in the structures. You could kind of see in the video behind, there's lots of tiny, tiny fish. And we also have a lot of sweet lips that are sheltering in one of our structures as well. So they're like the permanent residents there. We have puffer fish that are always under the structures. And this video you can see is from the remote underwater video. And we have a lot of shark populations passing by as well. So we have actually brought back populations from the damselfish all the way to apex predators. So first we had the damselfish, the crabs, then later the bigger fish, parrotfish, jackfish, groupers came, as well as the apex predators. So we do have a lot of invertebrates coming back as well. Actually, you would see in the video behind there's also just a sea cucumber there on the structure once we connected. And on this structure, you can see a lot of sea cucumbers around, as well as a giant clam underneath. So we have seen a lot of increase in inverts as well. And you can see sweet lips underneath the structure as well, taking a shelter. I don't know if you'll be able to see the sea cucumber. No, okay. Okay, so you can see this graph. So we did actually find the highest diversity of species as well as abundance of species. So each of these colors means a different reef area. So the blue color means Biorock. The red color means transplant section, but the corals were transplanted there naturally on the direct substrate. And the yellow color is degraded, so that means no coral restoration work was undertaken there. And when we did a survey, we found that Biorock had both the highest species richness under the genus that you can see in the graph, as well as highest total abundance of the individuals as well. So yeah, because we select many different species to plant on the Biorock to increase the diversity. So actually there are many further applications of Biorock rather than just planting corals on. So actually it can be used for beach and coastal regeneration. So actually in the Maldives before, in 1998, it was used in an island called Ihuru, where they put lots of Biorock in the lagoon, and they have actually managed to gain around 10 meters of beach back. So you also can use as shoreline protection. So instead of using wave breakers like rocks, which actually erode underneath, you can use the Biorock as a live breakwater. It also supports oysters growth, shellfish, which has been seen in Panama, as well as Chile, as well as seagrass growth, which has been found in Italy, Panama, Chile, and also in Indonesia. They have found various seagrasses growing around the Biorock structures. So the next steps of our project is to expand the Biorock structures across the reef, to combine the various restoration methods, combining our nurseries with the Biorock structure to see which species grow the best, as well as to have a self-sustaining, climate-resilient reef ecosystems. Thank you.
Would anyone like to ask any questions?
Agna, amazing talk. Thanks. One question. Where are you deciding to put these structures? Like, how are you discerning where the best place to put them is?
So actually, because it helps to grow the corals, the ones that are really difficult to grow naturally. So we have already planted in the area, and there was really low survivorship rate naturally, because there's a lot of sedimentation there and a lot of nutrient output as well. So that's why we put the Biorock there, to really boost the growth, because naturally we cannot really plant them there.
Amazing. Yeah, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
I've been following your work for a long time, so it's very cool to see the presentation. I've worked at other places that have tried to implement this Biorock technique with very limited success. So what do you think it is at Vela that is contributing to all of the success at Biorock?
You mean in Maldives?
Within the Maldives, yeah.
So essentially, Biorock was created by Tom Goro, and he, the founder himself, came to Vela to actually install it. And there's other projects such as mineral accretion technology, which is kind of like a copy of the Biorock, but they don't necessarily maybe have like the knowledge exactly how to execute it. Because when we install it with the Biorock company itself, they actually monitor live all the voltage and everything, and they can adjust as we need as well. So if you don't have the knowledge, maybe if you put too much power, you can actually damage the corals, or maybe it's not enough power as well. So it's really important to do it properly, you know?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's next?
I saw a lot of big hard corals that you guys have planted. Like, how do you stabilize and attach them? Do you use cable ties, or is there anything else that you use?
So you can use cable ties as well as binding wire. So actually the good thing about binding wire, once it touches the steel rebar, it also gets the limestone accretion. So you can benefit. So it gets stronger with the time.
It's really nice to see.
Thank you.
Hi, wonderful presentation.
Thank
One
you.
question. Since this is being powered by an external power source, have you guys thought about attaching sensors and other kind of electronics on it?
What type of sensors? Sorry.
Stuff like that measures salinity or just any kind of natural output.
So basically we do have like a power unit essentially there. So that one is being monitored by the company that I mentioned before. So we have the units at the jetty, and it runs by underwater cables. So they're the ones who have all the data actually. They have all the graphs and everything.
So it comes from there?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a company's product, basically.
Sorry, what?
Is it possible to recreate this in a sense where you can get the data? Would that be useful?
Yeah, because we can actually ask them for the data, so they're more than willing to share the data as well with us.
Okay, yeah, that's
Hi.
Hello.
I wanted to ask, as this thing has electricity, did you had any issue when this electricity will stop? The coral can keep growing or it might die?
You mean in the future,
Yeah.
if you stop it? So actually it does have if you would stop, the corals would not necessarily die, but they wouldn't benefit from the increased growth rates or like improved healing from the bleaching and diseases. But it would still grow at its natural rate, essentially.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have seen this technique being used at banyan tree, Ihuru.
Ihuru, yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's
in
what I was mentioning about the shoreline.
Yes, in the 1990s.
Yes.
And they still have this structure, and they are using solar panels to power the devices. My question is, I see that you are experimenting with many different structures. So which structure do you think is the most efficient and the best structure that we should go for if we are thinking of using this technique?
So actually for coral restoration, it doesn't really matter. We just choose the structures for like more visual effect. All of effective actually, but if you're using for like a beach regeneration or as wave breakers, then the structure doesn't matter and the placement. For example, for beach regeneration, you can use like kind of like this, you know, to put them next to each other parallel, so the water still can pass through and stuff. But for coral, it doesn't really matter. It just matters like the placement of the area, and but this structure shape is, they're all kind of like equally successful.
Anyone else?
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. I think some of the questions I had in mind has already been asked in a way, but I wanted to say, like, if you are trying to replicate this sort of process, just can you give an indication of like how expensive the electric setup is and what sort of setup you have? I think you said you're using units to use it, but are you using any sort of renewable sources currently at Villa, or is it all like fuel based? And also one other thing I was thinking is, you're providing the low voltage currents, right? So have you seen any sort of regress in the development of the corals if the electricity is not being provided? So like if for example, if there's a case of you cannot constantly provide electricity, so does it affect their growth? And also, like, how long do you have to provide this like constant supply of voltage, in a sense, because that also again will come back to a financial decision, right, if we are to replicate in other places. So can you give an indication on these points? Yeah.
So of course there's the initial cost of the project. So this is like the cost of the unit and stuff. But I think first of all, the Blue Generation team would come and assess your site, and then they would kind of give you an estimate based off this. But then after the initial cost, the steel rebars and stuff is pretty cheap. We actually make our structures ourselves. We do everything. We do the welding, we do the bending. So this is pretty cheap. You just need to order the steel rebar if you have the facility, of course, for welding. And in terms of the energy, actually it's really low energy. So we have around 100 meters of steel rebar per structure, so around 7 to 4. But it would be as much as a light bulb, you know? It's really low. It's like around 200 kilowatts maybe or something. So actually it's quite sustainable long term, and you could use solar panels or some renewable energy. We don't at the moment. So we just have underwater cables going from the jetty, and we have the electricity coming from jetty, but it's really not high electricity at all, so it doesn't take a lot of, even the two sides, it will not be really costly. And in terms of if the power were to shut off, so of course, naturally it'd be okay, but during times like bleaching period, then it would really affect the corals. I think they wouldn't benefit from the bleaching recovery as much, so they would have potentially to die much more. Like, have you seen the coral there gaining back the color? Potentially that wouldn't happen if there was no Biorock. I hope that answered all your questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Agna.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Aishat Mufliha Ziad, Project Coordinator at Maldives Resilient Reefs, presenting ecosystem linkages, mangroves, seagrass, and nutrient dynamics.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mof, and I am the projects coordinator at Maldives Resilient Reefs. So in my presentation today, I'm going to highlight on mangroves, seagrasses, and nutrients and how they link with each other. So I'm sure most of us remember this really devastating images and videos that were flooding our social media and news back in 2020 of dying mangroves, of widespread mangrove dieback occurring in the Maldives, and we were all wondering what's going on. What was the cause of this? Was it some sort of pollution, or was it a disease? So since then, a lot of studies have been done, and we have also worked with some researchers. And these studies have found that this was due to high sea level rise. So in the year 2020, the sea level rise was a little bit more than usual. And it was also coinciding with an extremely positive Indian Ocean dipole event, which means that the sea surface temperature of the Western Indian Ocean was significantly higher than the eastern part. So this increased the salinity levels in the pore water salinity of the mangroves, which is the water that is held in the soil area of the mangrove forest. And this dieback in 2020 was most affected to the basin type of forest found in the Maldives. And the species that was most affected was Bruguiera cylindrica, or what we call kandu in Divehim. The reason is because this species, kandu, is very poorly adapted to salinity stress. So when the pore water salinity increased in the mangrove forests, the root growth also reduced, and then which led to their death. What I would like to highlight here is that these mangrove forests are like a natural filter in our ecosystems, and when one of these ecosystems are unable to function fully to the ecosystem services, the adjacent ecosystem usually sort of picks up the slack, kind of. So just like how the mangrove forests are a natural filter to remove nutrients, so are seagrass meadows. I would like to start with the seagrass expansion in the Maldives. Like James mentioned before, the study from Matthew, it shows that the seagrass in the Maldives between the year 2000 to 2021, the seagrass meadows have actually tripled, which is also showed a total of about 105 square kilometers in the whole country. And the largest meadows and the largest growth was recorded in Lamu Atoll, Huadu Atoll, Mimo Atoll, and here in Lavian Atoll. So, as even though this shows that Maldives is a bright spot for seagrass, and it's growing when it's in decline in the other parts of the world, the thing that we are worrying about is that this growth in the Maldives was strongly associated with human activity. So this is concluded because the seagrass growth was recorded highest near inhabited islands and resort islands, and this could be due to modest nutrient leakage or changes in the sediment dynamics due to development projects like land reclamation. And then the next thing is, like, we may think, so this little nutrient going into the lagoon, it's a good thing because it's expanding the seagrass. But another experiment from a study we did with University of Edinburgh, we found that these seagrass meadows, once they're enriched with nutrients, they absorb the nitrogen and the phosphorus and they use it to grow. So, and also that the growth is more sensitive when the nutrient is given in the water column compared to the sediments. The most interesting part is that when this was done in 2 different sites with 2 different health conditions, one was done in an area that was fairly undisturbed by any human activities, and the other one was done in an area that was already significantly higher levels of nutrients due to sewage or agriculture. So in this area where the nutrients was already higher, when we enriched the water with nutrients, it actually triggered an algal bloom. So this shows that seagrasses have a threshold where they can absorb the nutrients and use it to grow. But when it reaches this certain threshold, it will trigger an algal bloom and lead to eutrophication. And this will not only affect the seagrass, but other life forms in the lagoon as well. So that shows, even these few 3 or 4 studies show how all of these ecosystems are very well linked, and that one change in one ecosystem can lead to many changes in the others as well. So to protect or make these ecosystems more resilient, our team is doing a lot of work, and one of those is Seagrass Industry Leaders Circle, which was launched in July this year. This actually builds on the 2019 Protect Maldives Seagrass campaign. And this year, 17 resorts have pledged to protect their seagrass and also commit to education and awareness and monitoring their seagrass over time. And the Seagrass Industry Leaders Circle is open to any resorts or NGOs that would like to be part of this collaborative effort to minimize the threat of removal in the tourism industry in the Maldives. Thanks.
Questions?
Did you guys do any studies that kind of look at the impact of nutrient absorption into seagrass and how that directly affects, for example, sea turtles or other megafauna that lives in the seagrass?
We have done research on nutrients in seagrass and how specifically nitrogen affects seagrass growth, but not how it is linked to any other megafauna yet.
Thank you. To wrap up ecological connectivity and ocean health, please welcome Mr. Ahmad Riaz Jauhari, Dean of College of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences at Maldives National University, presenting Tuna Tales, Research, Sustainability and the Future of Tuna Fisheries in the Maldives.
A very good morning. Assalamu alaikum. To begin with, what I'm going to be talking about is not related to any of the ecosystems that have been discussed here in the morning. I'm not a coral person. I'm not a seagrass or mangrove person. I spend most of my time out at open sea, working with the tuna fishermen. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the work we have done related to the tuna fishery. But before that, I just want to share with you some of the publications that are available on some of the works that we have done. My career started with the students. I was engaged in developing the marine science curriculum, previously known as fisheries science curriculum. So after spending about 17 years in the Ministry of Education Development Center, I moved to a place called Marine Research Center, now known as Maldives Marine Research Institute. So there I was focusing more of my work on live bait fishery and the tuna fishery, which is of course linked to the live bait fishery. So last year I had the opportunity to move to Maldives National University. So now I'm working at the Maldives National University. Just to give you some information about the Maldives and the monsoon, so link with the fishery. So in the Maldives, we have quite a large EEZ. And if you look at our country, about 1% is land. The remaining 99% is sea. So we have about 900,000 square kilometers of EEZ. And we experience two monsoons, the southwest monsoon and northeast monsoon. These are the main fisheries we have. So to give you a background of the fisheries, we have the most important fishery that we have is the tuna fishery, which accounts for about 98% of the catch. And from this, about 70% is skipjack tuna. And about 30% is yellowfin tuna. And of course, we exploit other species linked with the reef. But unlike many other small island states, the Maldives have been exploiting tuna. In many other, like the Seychelles, Mauritius, or Fiji, or any other Pacific island, you will find many of them actually concentrated on the reef's resources. Maldives actually expanded exploiting reef resources when tourism came. So since 1970s, we started exploiting more reef fish. We started consuming more reef fish as well. So some of the fisheries we have a live bait fishery, of course, which uses a small net for collecting live bait. We have what we call a general reef fish fishery, a special fishery for export called grouper fishery, lobster fishery, sea cucumber fishery, aquarium fishery, also for mainly export, a diamond back squid fishery. But this is very recently introduced, but not expanded very much. And also we have billfish fishery. Many of these fisheries lack proper data, so the size of the fishery we don't understand. So these are the different methods that we use for harvesting. We Maldivians have decided we will not use any large nets for fishing. So from very long time back, we have decided that we will use sustainable methods for fishing. That is using hook and line and catching fish one by one. And then we are competing with other large purse seiners operating in the Indian Ocean for selling our fish. Of course, by choosing fish that is caught by sustainable methods, there is no advantage for our exports. We are at the same competitive level as other large-scale fisheries operating in the Indian Ocean. So if you look at the Indian Ocean catches, you will find EU is the largest operator. So they use purse seining, which is very efficient. Of course, Maldives decided not to use any of these large, I would say more destructive methods of fishing, because purse seining is linked with a lot of bycatch. And even by catching one by one the fish using hook and line, we are catching quite a large quantity. And this amounts to about 150,000 tons every year we are catching. So if we look at the history of our fishery, it dates back to about 1,000 years. And today we have about 17,000 fishermen engaged in the fishery. And the export contribute to about 230 million US dollars. Of course, in the 1980s, and even before that, we had a vessel that is operated by sail. In the 1980s, we had a vessel that was operated by engine, but it was more open vessel that exposes the crew members to the elements, and also it was a very tough life for the. So today you will find more modern vessels. If you look at the harbor in Nafaru, you will find there are about 15 large vessels like this operating from this island. But unfortunately, the fishery operations have declined. Many young people don't want to engage in the fishery because although the vessels are big and the climate change and other factors have actually make the fishing operation more challenging. So sometimes the fishermen may not earn an income for a couple of months. People do not like this type of unstable lifestyle. So when they may earn quite a lot. So in islands where you had flourishing fisher communities, they have all disappeared now. So for example, next to Nafaru, Hinnavaru is an island that had quite a large number of fishing vessels. But I don't think there's even one vessel now there. But for some reason, the Nafaru community has sustained this fishery. So if you look at the whole of the north of the Maldives, you will find only 3 islands are now thriving fishing communities. That is Nafaru. In Atoll you have maybe Duafaru, and we can consider Maduvari. And then, of course, right at the extreme north, you have Ihavandu. So most of the fishing is now concentrated around the south of the So during operation, you may find many of these vessels operate very close to our coast. And since the fish are plucked one by one, you will find there's very little chance that bycatch is taken during this fishing operation. So 2 methods we employ, the pole and line technique and also the hand line technique that targeted fish. So for fishing operation to occur, the fishermen look for various types of schools. It may be oceanic large predator associated schools, drifting objects, or fads that are designed to attract fish. So this is a fish aggregating device that is used to attract fish, and we have about 65 of them deployed for tuna fishery. So FED deployment started in the 1980s, but today we have expanded the FED network to 65 FEDs, and these are deployed about 20 miles from the shore in 2,000 meter deep waters. So the study I did around these FEDs concentrated on how the fish are associated with the FEDs. So we looked at local ecological knowledge, we looked at aquatic tagging, we looked at the association biomass density. So local ecological knowledge, of course, this was the first time that we used a local ecological knowledge technique to get data from local tuna fishermen. And then we deployed devices on 21 FADs, all the way from Lamu Atoll to the end of Adwa. So divers dive into the water and deployed listening devices, hydrophones. We caught more than 100 fish and put a small transmitter inside the belly of the fish and then release them. And as long as the fish is near the FAD, they can actually receive the signal emitted by the transmitter. So that's how we know the fish is staying near the FAD. So if the fish move from one FAD to the other, we also know because that signal will be picked by the receiver on the FAD. So this we continued for 2 years, this experiment. And we did more than 100 dives at the FAD for deploying this equipment and retrieving the equipment as well. And this is the biomass. This device is used for biomass abundance. This is an echo sounder. Echo sounders are deployed on all these FADs to look at biomass abundance. But the unfortunate thing is that many of these devices were vandalized during our experiment, and we lost 32 of these. Each one costs about $1,200. So what we saw was during this experiment, the data we collected from local ecological knowledge was very similar to what we were observed from the experiment itself. Fish abundance varied from east to west, depending on the monsoon. And then we also found two adjacent fads do not attract similar quantities of fish. The circles showing biomass abundance. And we also saw that there are some fads that always attract more fish. So there are more successful fads. We also learned that the number of days that skipjack tuna stay near the fad is about 2 days, while the yellowfin stays a little longer. That is about 4 days, which is also similar to what the fishermen were saying. We did not observe movement of fish between the fads. Only 4 fish out of the 122 fish moved between the fads. So this is indicating that the Maldives fads do not act like a network. In other countries where the fads are close to each other, we see that the fads, the fish jump from one fad to the other, and they stay within the fad network for more than 30 days. So to conclude, the importance of managing the fishery resources, we see that Maldives alone cannot manage this resource, because we see that fish do not stay in the Maldives, they move, and new fish come to our fads or our coastal areas. And we see many of our fishermen actually operating very close to the coastal area, around 60 miles from the coast. So the remaining 140 miles area acts like a buffer for the Maldives. So maybe future research works could be catch composition, bycatch related to the fishery, looking at the movement more thoroughly, and also looking at BIA of the fish. So these are some of the publications that have come out from this work. We are actually working on another publication that will be published soon. So if you are interested, you can have a read. Thank you. This is a video on fishing technique. I just want to show you all, because I'm sure many of you would not have seen pole and line technique. So the fish is plucked right from the surface. I would say the hook would not go even 10 centimeters below the surface. So only the tuna that we are targeting are plucked. But sometimes you will find dolphin fish or rainbow runner's caught. But these are usually good food fish, so they don't discard it. So there is no discard in this fishery. With about 50 people operating the hook, it takes about 1 minute to catch 1 ton of fish, because these fish are about 5 to 6 kg fish. And the highest catch from an operation like this is 62 tons. That gave the fishermen more than $1 million that day.
Any questions?
Thank you. Great presentation. I have 3 questions for you. The first question is, when we did the live bait fishery study, one of the common concerns were land reclamation for the fishers. What are your thoughts on the projects that are going on right now? There's a lot of reclamation projects. So your thoughts on that with fisheries. The second question is gulper fishing, gulper shark fishing. Your thoughts on that. And the last one is, how can we actually connect with the fishing community? Because I think it goes just with the science community, fisheries community separate. There isn't a connection between us. So that's the questions I have for you.
Thank you, Atif. About the bait fishery, even last year I had the opportunity to visit Nafar and engage with the fishermen. Yes, the dredger that is operating and collecting, sucking actually sand from the bottom of the, inside the atolls. It is causing issues to the bait fishery, yes. One reason is like the baits aggregate in areas where you have sand dunes at the bottom. So a lot of these small cardinal fish and sometimes some species of pelagic bait fish, they at some stage associate with the sand dunes at the bottom of the atolls. So when this is sucked by the dredger, it creates huge areas where the depth from, according to the fishermen, their depth goes down to more than 5 meters. So the habitat for the bait is gone. So this does affect the bait fishery. And it also stirs up the sediments. And this affects the adjacent coral reef and the coral actually that are at the bottom of the atolls as well. And this also affects negatively for the bait fishery because the habitat is affected. About the gulper shark, I have not done any research on gulper shark, so I am not in a position to comment about it. What was your third question?
How can we actually connect with
with the fishermen, yes. Yeah. I think the best way to connect with the fishermen is to engage with them, go out with them, talk to them because they are full of knowledge. And unfortunately, we don't use their knowledge to write publications. I think we should get more publications out with the local ecological knowledge of the fishers, not only tuna fishers, but also reef fishers as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello. Good morning. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your immense experience with us, and then thank you for contributing to our...
I think they can't hear with your mic.
Good morning. Thank you for sharing your immense experience with us, and then thank you for contributing for our marine, for Maldivian marine ecosystem. My first question is, since we are talking about marine conservation and everything, and then your research is all about fishery in Maldives, right? Have you ever done any research based on harvest control? Since we talk about so many species of bait fishes, reef fishes being diminished in Maldives, there have been some reports as well. I mean, unofficial reports, since so many fishermen around Maldives have been giving some reports that they have they have been, it's very difficult for them to harvest some bait fishes in some parts of the Maldives. So is there any plan or any research ongoing about harvest control? Since many parts of the world are also practicing this harvest control, right? On species. Most of the species are being given some what do you say? Some duration to be harvested, right? So is there any plan or is there any ongoing research?
Of course, when I was working at the Marine Research Center, we did bait fishery assessments. His question is about bait fishery, people complaining about not getting enough bait. But when we look at the literature, we see even 20 years back, people were complaining about this issue. They were saying there's not enough bait, not enough bait, not enough bait. And even today they are saying that, but the tuna catch has increased very much. So what we are actually seeing is what we call local depletion of bait fish during some seasons. So for example, during May to August, there is local depletion happening in the Huvadu Atoll, south of the Maldives. So Huvadu Atoll, Lamu Atoll, Addu Atoll, these are atolls where most of the fishing is taking place. So 2/3 of our national catch is landed from vessels operated in the south of the Maldives. So during this period when the bait depletes, they come all the way to Lavian Atoll, Ba Atoll, Ra Atoll for collecting bait. So sometimes you will see these huge vessels with very powerful lights operating in Laviani as well. So they come all the way, they drive 200 miles all the way to Laviani, collect bait and go back to Huvadu Atoll, 200 miles back to catch fish. And this is again profitable for them, that's why they are doing this. But every year we experience this, what we call local depletion. And if you look at the number of vessels actually that are operating, from 2019, we have lost about 500 vessels that are doing pole and line fishing. So 2019, we had registered 900 vessels for pole and line and hand line tuna fishing operations. So now if you look at the registered number of vessels, it is about 400 vessels. So definitely the pressure on the bait stocks would have gone down now. And in the north, the fishing activities are less. So in the north, I would believe the condition of the bait would have improved and this bait would be able to, of course, move to the other atolls as well. So as far as I know, there is no control, there is not going to be a control on the amount of bait that will be harvested. So there is no harvest control limits on the bait itself. Yeah.
Do you think it would be a good idea for the future to put a harvest control, since we are experiencing that?
Again, I think there's no need to put a harvest control because this is a local depletion that has been happening for many, many years in the Huvadu Atoll. And these fish that they are using as bait are what we call short-lived organisms. So if you look at some of the sprat, the life is about 1 year or about 14 months. So even if we don't collect them, don't use them, that life cycle will continue like that. So the solution that government was thinking about was to aquaculture some of these bait fish. But the species that we use in the Maldives, we have not seen any country that is doing aquaculture of sprats or anchovies like the ones we have here, or even cardinal fish. So it is quite impossible, I think, to aquaculture those to a level that the fishermen want. Yes. I think there's one more question.
I know many of you still want to ask questions, but as we are short on time, we are wrapping up for now. Thank you, Mr. Ahmad Riaz Jauhari. That was a wonderful presentation to wrap up our first subtopic. We'll now take a short 15-minute break. Please use this time to recharge and hold on to your thoughts. We'll return to them during the panel discussion on ecological connectivity and ocean health at 10:30. Kindly make sure to be seated on time